Harper Perennial and Cadman Audio present Tomorrow Will Be Better by Betty Smith, performed by Nicola Barber. Spes fovet et fore cras semper ait melius. Hope ever urges on and tells us tomorrow will be better. Tibulus, Carmina, 2:6:20. 1. There couldn't be a colder, a lonelier place in the whole world, thought Margy Shannon, than a deserted Brooklyn street on a Saturday night. She pulled her firmly held coat more tightly about her as she turned a corner. She was out walking the cold wintry streets because she was 17 and had a job. She was independent now. She didn't have to be in the house by 9 o'clock. She felt she had to use her hard-bought freedom, even if it froze her to death. How easy to give up, go home and sit in the warm kitchen. But she had to hold out, get her mother used to the fact that there was a wider world outside the walls of the grudging home. So she walked the streets alone on a cold January night. Margy had left school at 16 after finishing 2 years at Eastern District High. She had looked forward to leaving school, getting a job, being independent, and having a little money of her own. She had been anxious to start leading a life of her own. She had found a job, an interesting job. She was mail reader in the Thompson Johnson mail order house, which had its offices and warehouses down near the Brooklyn docks, an hour's trolley ride from her home. But the expected independence had turned out to be merely technical. Her mother kept the silver cord taut and vibrant with possessiveness, and Margy, like many Brooklyn girls who came of poor families, had to turn in all of her salary at home. She earned $12 a week. Like her father, she placed her sealed pay envelope on her mother's outstretched palm each Saturday afternoon. That was the tradition. A decent husband or a good child brought home the pay envelope unopened. Flo gave Margy $2 out of her envelope. Out of this, Margy paid car fare to and from work and bought the daily bologna sandwich and cup of coffee which was the routine lunch of most of her coworkers. That left 50 cents a week for everything else. The hot dog she and a girlfriend indulged in when they took a Sunday trolley ride to Canarsie in the summertime, or the cup of hot chocolate with fake whipped cream on top and 2 crackers on the saucer, which was the traditional treat at the end of a Sunday stroll in Brooklyn. An occasional dime store lipstick had to come out of this fun too. Margy never had enough money for all the things a young girl wants so desperately. For instance, she'd like to have one of the new-style wind-blown bobs, like her office friend Rainey had. But such a haircut meant frequent trips to the barber with a nickel tip involved to keep the hair in intricate trim. Since she couldn't afford that, she had to be content with her shingle bob, with thin fishhook curls pasted to each cheek. Sometimes she dreamed a little dream. Suppose she were to get a raise. Would she tell her mother? She could take the extra $1 or $2 out of the envelope and reseal it before bringing it home. And what Margy could do with that extra money? Still and all, she thought, that would be cheating. She remembered what a grade school teacher had said, that time she had caught Margy sliding her eyes over to a seatmate's paper during a test. "That's how a criminal begins," said the teacher. "He cheats in a test and gets away with it. Then he cheats in bigger and bigger things. Finally, he ends up in Sing Sing." Margy had no intentions of becoming a criminal. Yet, who'd ever find out? It was like the old childhood dilemma. If you'd press a button and a Chinaman died in China, leaving you $1 million, would you press that button? Sometimes Margy had decided that she'd press it very firmly. Other times she had decided that $1 million would never compensate for causing a death, not even a Chinaman's on the other side of the world. Well, she had never had a chance at the button, and there was no immediate hope of getting a raise, so there was nothing to decide.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?